afternoon. So today we're going to talk about something called the multiple intelligences. So we all know that everybody learns differently. I mean, raise your hand if you hate math. Yeah, most hands up. So that's because you just don't learn the way we typically teach math. So today we're going to learn about the multiple intelligences, which is going to let you be able to make assumptions about your own learning styles / the multiple intelligences. And at the end, we're going to have to make a couple of choices with what I've taught you. So first, we're going to go over a PowerPoint about the multiple intelligences / learning styles. We're going to go through a separate lesson, and then we're going to talk about assignments in the learning styles. Okay? Okay. Okay. So there are 8 intelligences, and the intelligences are just how we learn. There are 8 specific ones. They were developed by a man named Howard Gardner. Most people use a combination, but there is one that works best for them. So as we go through these, you're probably going to notice that some of the things sound a little familiar, or you do some of these things, or people in your life do these things. So just pay attention and keep that in mind as we go through them. The first one we're going to talk about is bodily or kinesthetic learning. So these are people who learn through touching things like concrete objects, or they learn best while they're moving. So people who become PE teachers, things like that, they learn with their body through actual physical movement or touch. The next one, which there are two that, these two kind of sound similar, this one and the next one. This one is intrapersonal with an A. These people are self-smart. They understand themselves and they do really well working alone. What do you think that someone who's intrapersonal might be really good at?
Independent studies?
Yeah, independent studies, business owners, people who work alone in cubicles. Oftentimes, it's usually what we see people who lean towards intrapersonal doing. The next one is interpersonal with an E. So this is the opposite of interpersonal. They're people smart. They enjoy working with groups and working with other people. So instead of like self-studies or like cubicle work, what might these people might want to do?
Work with others.
But how?
Like social workers?
Yeah, they might want to be a social worker, someone who goes out and interacts with people every day. They might make great customer service representatives, that sort of thing.
Working in retail.
Yeah. All right. The next one, which will probably, these I feel like are the last couple of ones are the ones that are going to speak to this group, I feel like more. So this one is linguistic. Linguistic learners learn best through spoken and written word. They're usually really good speakers, and they have a way with language as a whole. So they're good at reading, they're good at writing, and they're good at talking. So they do things like become speakers, editors, or authors, that sort of thing. People who have logical or mathematical learning styles are very number smart. They like straightforward explanations and logical connections. So they tend to lean towards math and science. So people like Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein, famous scientists, tend to be logical or mathematical people.
Yep.
Okay. So the next one is musical / auditory. So these people learn best through hearing things. So like spoken lecture, jingles, music, they tend to be able to make almost anything musical. They learn when to do stuff best when they're listening to music, that sort of thing. People who have this type of intelligence obviously usually lean towards like being musicians or doing things that involve music, which is pretty straightforward. And then we have visual slash spatial, which I can use myself as an example on. Visual or spatial learners learn through photos, videos, or the arrangement of things around them. They tend to do really well with maps, charts, diagrams, and they understand how to use the space around them, and they can use it to express themselves, which leads to a lot of visual and spatial learners being things like artists or map makers, that sort of thing. So now I'm pretty sure that that is the last one. Nope, we have one more. Okay. I always forget about this one. So naturalistic learners are probably, I think, the most unique one in here. Naturalistic learners connect to anything in the natural world. So they are very good at finding patterns, and they're very good at learning things about animals, the environment, and the earth. They like to do things outside, that sort of thing. So someone who's a naturalistic learner might lean towards what sorts of career paths or education paths?
Park ranger?
Yeah.
Or zoologist?
Zoologists, park rangers. Yeah, that sort of thing. Okay, so that is the end of our lesson on the intelligences. So now we're going to talk about something else for just a little bit, okay? Because I am going to be an art teacher, we're going to talk about a little bit of art history today. And while we're talking about this, I want you to think about the information I'm giving you about the artist, about his style. By the end of this, you're going to know what Impressionist paintings looks like, and you're going to have a little more knowledge than you probably did before this on the artist, Claude Monet, which I'm going to have you use to do a little bit of research / some work with later. So let's go ahead and hit play here.
Okay, so does anyone in here know who Claude Monet was, or like have ever seen any of his paintings that you remember about? Yeah, I took art history in college. Me too. Okay, he's an impressionist and painted outdoor scenes, right? Yeah. So Claude Monet was born in Paris, but when he was really little, his family moved to Normandy, where he lived on the coast, and he gained an appreciation for the sea. He learned to be an artist informally. He never went to art school. He learned from his friends, family, and locals, which kind of made his parents really mad. And eventually, someone came about and taught him about the art of painting outside or in open air, which is also called plein air, which is part of his famous style, which also set the tone for the most popular parts of his career. He became really famous because late in his life, after he'd already helped found the Impressionist movement, Americans discovered and decided that they really enjoyed his work. Previously, he sold almost no artwork, but managed to get exhibited in salons in Europe, but he didn't find real success until his artwork made its way to America, and then he started selling. And if we look in the background here of this slide, we can see a prime example of Impressionism. This is one of his paintings. It's from an era in his life where he was painting train yards. So as we can see, you can see the brush strokes in it. It has a lot of vibrant color, and it kind of has that messy, blurry feel, which is what makes Impressionism. So this says more of that, the visible brush strokes, the messy look, and it did dominate the later part of his career, and that was partially due to its success, but also because Monet had cataracts, and his eyesight was failing him in the later part of his life. So as he could see less, his paintings got more impressionist or more expressive, because he continued to paint pretty much up until he died in 1926. So if we look at the painting I've got pulled up on the right here, could anyone point out to me, what impressionist elements they see there? The sky on the water. Really faded. Kirsten first? I said the sky, the light coming from the sun faded onto the water. Very yeah, you can see like the big orange paint strokes on the water, right? And I heard Grace as well, I think. The background being like real faded, almost like unrecognizable unless you really, really look at it. Right. And a famous characteristic of Impressionism is whenever you stand far away from it, it looks more like a picture than when you stand close. So if you back away from your screen even a little, it might, or like squint your eyes, the picture might come together a little better. But with a painting like this, which is kind of more monochromatic, that doesn't apply. Not to worry, there's more. These are some of his most important paintings. They're because he painted water lilies for literal decades of his life. He spent a lot of his later life, like the last 30 years of his life, painting from his own garden, where he had his own pond in his own water lily garden. These paintings look pretty normal right here on the screen, but most of the water lily series paintings are mural size. So many of them can fill up 2 rooms that are 80 feet long easily. They are very large. So the brushstrokes and the impressionist elements that you see here, really small on the screen in person, they're incredibly large and way more noticeable. All right.
So now let's bring this back to the multiple intelligences. So obviously we just learned a lot about Monet. So now I'm going to show you 8 different assignments, and then one at a time, I'm going to have you all choose which one of those you think would fit your personal learning style best. I guess I will start with Joanne. Which one of these would you want to do?
The linguistic. Right.
Okay. Who next? Kelly?
I would also like to do the linguist one.
Okay. Kirsten?
I'm so sorry, I was still muted. I will do the musical one.
Musical. Okay, Ian.
I would like to do naturalistic.
And Grace.
The kinesthetic one.
Okie dokie. Will you explain to me why you made the choice you did?
I chose the one I did because writing is what I do for a living, so it's what I'm comfortable with.
Okay.
And also because I like doing research on things like art because I enjoy art.
I chose the one that I did because I get a very visual sense when listening to music, so I figured that would be the easiest for me to put out.
Makes sense.
I wasn't sure how many of us you wanted us to, or yeah. I chose linguistic because I also like to write, so, and research. Fun.
All right. Sounds good to me. I mean, yeah, usually that's what we go towards, right? What we like to do, what we think we're best at. All right. So we learned about the multiple intelligences. You guys made some assumptions about your own learning styles. And then we applied it to some homework you're going to have. So, and we did that by learning about Claude Monet, Impressionism, a little bit about his life. I didn't talk a lot because you will need to do research for your assignments. You did a great job explaining your choices and helping me with the slides and giving responses. So the next time I see you, we'll probably start on the assignments. And whenever you go home, or whenever we stop the video, I guess, I have some surveys for you to take that are actually going to tell me what scientifically your learning style is, or at least based off these survey questions. So whenever the meeting ends, I want you to go ahead and do that for me so we can get started on the projects the next time we have class. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
On the surveys, do we need to put first and last name or just first name?
Just your first name.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys.